All right, our meeting's about to begin. All right, I'd like to welcome our visitors this evening, both those here in chamber and online. I now call to order the April 21st, 2022 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Schuman.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Mayor Albery.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. Our first item of business is always mayor's communication.
I'm here as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler.
That's all right.
Nice to see you.
Just making
Happy you
sure.
can make it today. Sorry, Alderman Becker.
Here.
And we still have a quorum. But welcome, Tyler. All right, under mayor's communication, we have 4 proclamations this evening. The first is the National Travel and Tourism Week, May 1st through the 7th, 2022. Whereas in 1983, the United States Congress established National Travel and Tourism Week to acknowledge the tourism industry's importance to the economy. And whereas leisure travel, which accounts for more than 3/4 of all trips taken in the United States, spurs countless benefits to travelers, health and wellness, creativity, culture awareness, education, happiness, productivity, and relationships. And whereas Lake of the Ozarks was voted the best recreational lake in the nation, proving that the area contributes in a big way to the tourism industry in Missouri. And whereas welcoming visitors from near and far always has been and always will be the enduring ethos of the travel industry at Lake of the Ozarks. Now, therefore, I, John Oliver, Mayor, do hereby proclaim May 1 through 7, 2022 as National Travel and Tourism Week in Osage Beach, Missouri, and I'll urge citizens to join me in this special observance with appropriate events and commemoration. The next is National Small Business Week proclamation, again, May 1st through the 7th, 2022. Whereas America's progress has been driven by pioneers who think big, take risk, and work hard, and whereas from the storefront shops that anchor Main Street to the high-tech startups that keep America on the cutting edge, small businesses are the backbone of our economy and a cornerstone of our nation's promise. And whereas small business owners and Main Street businesses have energy and a passion for what they do. And whereas when we support small businesses, jobs are created and local communities preserve their unique culture. And whereas, because this country's 28 million small businesses create nearly 2 out of 3 jobs in our economy, we cannot resolve ourselves to create jobs and spur economic growth in America without discussing ways to support our entrepreneurs. And whereas the President of the United States has proclaimed National Small Business Week every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs through the U.S. Small Business Administration and other governmental agencies. And whereas the city of Osage Beach, Missouri supports and joins in the national effort to help American small businesses do what they do best, grow their businesses, create jobs, and ensure that our communities remain a vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, I, John Oliver, Mayor of Osage Beach, do hereby proclaim May 1 through May 7th, 2022 as National Small Business Week in Osage Beach, Missouri, and urge citizens to join me in their special observance with special events and commemorations. Our third is Municipal Clerks Week, which is also May 1st through the 7th, 2022. Whereas the office of Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of Municipal Clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing body, and agencies of government at all other levels. And whereas the office of Municipal Clerk has pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the office of Municipal Clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the office of Municipal Clerk continually strives to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the Municipal Clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishment of the office of the Municipal Clerk. And now, therefore, I, John Oliver Rhee, Mayor of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, do recognize the week of May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as Municipal Clerk Week. And finally, Local Government Week, a popular week, May 1st through the 7th, 2022, whereas local governments in Missouri make important decisions that affect the lives of all Missourians. And whereas local governments are the level of government closest to the people. And whereas local governments, including Board of Aldermen, city councils, county commissions, school boards, and others. And whereas local governments are the ultimate expression of grassroots democracy. And whereas local governments play an essential role in the quality of life in Missouri communities. Now, therefore, I, John Oliver Rhee, Mayor, do hereby name May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Local Government Week in Osage Beach and urge all Missourians to join me in recognizing local governments as they serve their communities. And that's all I have under Mayor's communication. We now move on to citizens' communication. This is time is set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. And there are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes. Unless otherwise permitted, minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting dates, which are the first and third Thursdays of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens' communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? If so, if you haven't already signed in, please sign in on the form found at the microphone in front of the dais. And Alderman Schmidt, good to see you, sir.
Ex-Alderman.
You always carry the title, sir.
I'm here tonight again, but not in my capacity with the road district. I'm here tonight representing, actually, I guess I'm a substitute for the guy who wanted to present this to you. He wound up in the hospital yesterday, and they haven't figured out what's wrong with him, so I haven't let him out yet. So what I have here is his comments, and Michael has a little handout for you. But what I want you to do is, I'm representing the Elks Lodge, 2517 down the street. And our Veterans Committee would like to partner with the city to build a Veterans Memorial. This memorial would have a bronze battle cross, and I don't know if you know what that is, but that's a statue about 3.5 foot high with a rifle in the up position, a pair of boots, and a helmet on the top of the rifle. In addition to that, they want to put in a kneeling soldier. And they've already bought those two items to put somewhere in town. And you can believe it, $19,850 got my attention. They also plan to purchase six 20-foot flagpoles, one for each branch of the military. They've got another $5,000 that will be tied up in that. They also plan to purchase paving bricks with the name of veterans, branch of service, and date of their service. And they plan on selling them to cut back some of their cost. The 16 by 12 bronze plaque has been cited by the fact that the sheet you see with the marble tomb marker on it is a donation of Hedges Scott Funeral Home. And I just talked to Mr. Tim Scott earlier today. When we decide what we want on that tombstone, it's going to take 8 or 9 months to get it, is what he told me. So it's going to be some lead time involved here. What they want to put on it is, and I quote, honoring all who have served, especially those who have given their life in defending our country. This memorial has been provided by the Veterans Committee of the Lake of the Ozarks Elks Lodge 2517 and the City of Osage Beach, Missouri. And what we're asking the city to do is to put the memorial in the grassy area out in front of the building, in the circle. And we're also asking that the city, once installed, maintains it, of course. Sorry about that. Somebody has to do it. And as far as the circle is concerned, I frankly think that's a good place for it. I understand original consideration for it was down at the city park entrance. But that's a little bit open to mischief. And so I would prefer to see it out here in front of City Hall where, in addition to less mischief, I think there's more traffic. More people will see it, make it more worthwhile. Now, the last sentence here is not true. It says, I will be glad to answer any questions you may have. I don't know the answers.
So don't ask me any questions?
Don't ask questions because I don't know. But that's what we're proposing, and I'm sure there's going to be meetings and et cetera about it. And he'll be back out of the hospital. He's a tough bird. And he is a bird, too, by the way, Air Force. Thank you.
Ron, you're always a good substitute, no matter what you bring to the board. This is something I know that you've been talking with the Assistant City Administrator on, and if the board has any questions, Mike is probably in a fair position to be able to answer some of those questions. Otherwise, there'll be further information brought to the board as he continues to work with the Elks Lodge.
Things will come out as we progress along the way. The main thing is that the board is willing to accept and go work with us in building the memorial.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board at this time? If so, they could be addressed to Mike. Otherwise, it can be set up as a discussion item for some time in the future. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anyone else here who would like to share with the board this evening? If not, we'll move on to our first item of business, which is the approval of the consent agenda. If the board desires, the consent agenda may be approved by a single motion. Tonight's agenda consists of the minutes of the April 7th, 2022 Board of Aldermen meeting, the April 21st, 2022 bills list, and a new liquor license, EC's Bar and Grill LLC. Alderman Morose, is the liquor license in order?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or proposed revisions? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. We move on now to unfinished business. Our first item of unfinished business is requesting a second reading by title only of ordinance number 22.14, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adopting an amendment to the zoning map of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri by rezoning 34.1 acres as described in rezoning case number 418. The first reading for tonight's unfinished items were approved at the April 7th meeting. Are there any additional comments from the city planner?
I have nothing unless there's some questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? If there's none, is there a motion to approve this? I'm sorry. Yes, Alderman Rucker.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the last meeting. I wish I would have been rather than sitting at home sick, but I was. And I had received some comments after the meeting addressed to me, and I'd taken care of them through Carrie and back to the people that had asked them. But I wanted to bring one of them specifically out in the public in case there's some other people that are listening, because there was an issue made by some people in the audience that I could hear about the 5 homes that were being built there. And the comments that were made to me in an email to me was what do they do? They got 5 homes already built before they even got this thing approved. Well, for clarification, the 5 homes that are under construction, I believe they're not done, aren't they under construction, Carrie?
They're under construction.
They're actually under construction, are not a part of this development that we're dealing with. It's a development that was actually approved back in the 1980s or 60s or a long time ago. It's a complete different development than this. It's been already approved for planning and zoning. The reason the board wasn't aware of it, obviously, is that there's lots of things that are approved that also have to do is just get their building permit and move forward, and that's why there might have been some of the board members that weren't aware of those specific houses there because it was already approved. It's not part of this development, not part of this zoning thing or anything whatsoever. So I clarified that with the people that I had bring it to me, and I just wanted to clarify it with anybody who's in a listening mode so that they were aware of that's what the situation is. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you for the clarity. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? If not, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Osteen, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, roll call, please.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Our next item is requesting a second reading by title only of ordinance number 2218, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with B&H Cleaning, expanding their cleaning services for a yearly not-to-exceed amount of $47,000. Any comments from the Assistant City Administrator?
No, sir.
All right, any questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, roll call, please.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Our next item is requesting a second reading by title only of ordinance number 2219, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute supplemental agreement number 6 to the professional services agreement with LOR Engineering, LLC, DBA, Cochran Engineering to assist the city with a new parks master plan in an amount not to exceed $48,500. Any comments from the Assistant City Administrator?
No, sir.
All right, any questions from the board? With none, is there a
Just
motion?
wanted to, again, people do listen to our board meetings. Again, people that weren't here that reached out to me said they wanted to make sure that we considered pickleball and Frisbee golf. So I passed it on.
Yes, sir. There will be a survey that goes out to the public, early on during this process. And those are 2 items that we've heard a lot about. So thank you very much.
And probably a public meeting. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve second reading?
Motion.
Alderman Schuman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. Roll call, please.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Our final unfinished item, request a second reading by title only of ordinance number 22.20, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 2178, adopting the 2022 annual operating budget, transfer of funds for necessary expenses. Comments from the city administrator?
No additional comments?
All right, any questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Osteen, do I have a second? Alderman Becker. Roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. We now move on to new business. Our first item of new business, request a motion to approve the certification of election results. City Clerk.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This is the certification from Camden County and certification from Miller County. We just need a motion to approve those, and we can move on to the oath of office.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Alderman Schuman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, our next item is the city clerks administering the oath of office. If the newly elected and re-elected officials would please join the city clerk down front.
I guess that's me.
That's you.
We're going to do it right here.
You're gonna do it here?
Pictures, yeah.
Okay.
We'll just do it up here, Mike, between these.
What are we doing?
We're going to do it right up here. So you guys stand down there. I'm going to stand on the floor. You stand between the flags.
So the two items that didn't get on there were Ed second readings for the funding agreement for Beach Road and the hiring Gilmore Bell, but Carrie Patterson's particular. So Ed did, it was a good catch on your end, but it had to do with Backwater Jackson's Beach Road. Kind of amazing.
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the state of Missouri.
and the state of Missouri
And the city ordinances of the city of Osage Beach.
and the city ordinances of the city of Osage Beach.
That I will faithfully demean myself as.
That I will faithfully demean myself as
State your title.
Alderman
Within the city, within and for the city of Osage Beach.
within and for the city of Osage Beach,
Which I was appointed.
which I was appointed.
All good.
Thank you.
You gonna get us with our hands down now? That would look a lot better.
All right, there we go. Let's take a couple more. Perfect, thank you.
Welcome. This is your chair now. Thank you.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
This will be interesting, but I did want to start off first thanking a couple of people, if you will. First row here, my mom. Sorry. They came up from Springfield. Norma Harmison. On the far right is my brother Jerry Harmison. My mom, for many years, was the senior vice president, Ozark Central, what is it, Mom? Ozark Mountain Bank in Branson, Missouri. My brother Jerry, he was an attorney, he's now the judge in Springfield, Missouri. His lovely wife Jean has her own business and doing very well. And next to them is Kim. Kim Jensen is her name. Too old to call her my girlfriend. But I will say thank you all for being here. My mom, my brother, Gene, supporters through this whole thing. A year ago, nobody thought this would be happening. Kim is not political. So when I told her what I was doing, she said, I'll support you every step of the way. Went to everything, supported me. So thank you all for being here. All right. Thank you. Anyway, sorry about that. I did want to thank Mayor Oliveri for his 15 years of service here in Osage Beach, 9 years as alderman, 6 years as mayor. I wish him luck in his future endeavors, and thank you for donating your time to the city of Osage Beach. To the voters out there, I'm not much of a speech writer. I kind of put notes down. I'll look down once in a while, but I wanted to thank the voters for having faith in me to make what I think is a wonderful city a little better. So please bear with me as we go through this process. I do have some knowledge in my past adventures, endeavors with parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules of Orders. I might be a little rusty, relying on the city attorney and the city administrator to help me out there. I have a lot to learn, but one thing I can promise you is I will do my best to do what I said I would do and make this city better. And I'll be forthright with you, and hopefully you'll be forthright with me, and I hope we work together. With that being said, if you would be so kind to allow my brother and my mom and Jean to exit, if you could just wait a couple of minutes. My mom has a walker, it takes her a minute. So rather than keeping here with a lengthy meeting, if you give us a couple of minutes, and thank you again, I love you all. Thank you. Drive careful.
There's some storms out there.
We're 18 months apart, and we always say, my much older brother. So.
Surely not.
Yes.
I didn't do.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, moving on. Bill number 22-26, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri. I'm sorry?
President of the board.
I'm sorry?
President of the board, elect the president.
I'm sorry.
Back one page on your agenda.
96 maybe?
My apologies.
Motion.
Oh. All right. Told you I'd mess up right away. All right, motion to elect president of the Board of Aldermen. So,
Your Honor, I would like to nominate Richard Ross as president.
all right, thank you, Alderman Morose. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Second, Alderman Osteen, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now I can read.
Yeah, you
All right, thank you. Bill number 22-26, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving a professional service agreement with PGAV Planners for services related to the consideration of the Legacy Development and Affiliates proposal and TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outland Mall under the Real Property Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Act. We have the first and second reading. That's the first reading. All right. Mr. Rucker.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. PGAV is a planning and advisory service we have used in the past. 20 years or 15 years ago, John Bragg-Caglione testified on the city's behalf when we first got to know them in the Four Seasons lawsuit, which we prevailed on. They are an experienced organization in how these economic development tools are used and worked. Gina and I are familiar enough with what's going on to tell you that we do not have the professional expertise, the bench strength to evaluate a proposal this complex in-house. We need people who will be able to look at these numbers and have the professional experience to tell us how the numbers work together and what's reasonable and what's not for our expectations. So we think that to give this application a fair and thorough review, we're going to need some professional help. This is also an organization that works well with Gilmore Bell. Gilmore Bell knows them and has worked well with them in the past, so it'll be pretty much a seamless team.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Rucker.
Just make clarity, the expense on this, the city pays the bill, but this is actually paid for by the developer.
Yes, sir.
Would you just make sure that that's clarified?
Right, this is something the developer, because the developer brings the idea to you, the developer has already, and this developer has already put up $30,000 in the funding agreement.
Right, just so people know that this is not an expense that we are paying it, but we've already been reimbursed for it. That's all, I just want to make sure that was out on the table.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve. Go ahead.
Alderman Becker? Is there a second?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Ross. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, first reading passes. Second reading, Bill 22-26, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving a professional service agreement with the PGAV planners for services relating to the consideration of the legacy development and affiliates proposal and TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outlet Mall under the Real Property Tax Increment Financing Development Act. This is a second reading. A roll call, please.
I need a motion first.
Need a motion. Can I have a motion to approve second reading?
I make the motion.
Alderman Rucker.
Second.
Second, Alderman Rose. Roll call, please.
Okay. Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
All right, motion, the second reading passes. Next on the agenda, Resolution 2022-01, a resolution of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, referring the Osage Beach Outland Mall Tax Increment Financing Proposal to the Osage Beach TIF Commission and setting public hearing for Monday, June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. Is there any comments from the board? Sorry, Alderman Becker.
So I have a question. Page 1, down under item number 1, about 3/4 of the way down, it says the application is sufficiently complete. Can somebody explain that? Because from what I know, it's not very complete at all.
It's the board's finding. I mean, you all control the process in terms of how these applications get to the TIF Commission. The applications get to the TIF Commission basically one of two ways. The mayor, under their general supervisory authority, as under our ordinances, has general supervisory authority over all city business, can say, this is enough, I want to send it on, okay? The Board of Aldermen also may by resolution decide, we're happy with this, we want to send this on and start the clock. What this resolution does, the state statutes require a 45-day notice, a 45-day clock to all the taxing districts, the school district, the county, the library district, et cetera. There are actually, I think, 7 of them, okay? And this notice would authorize the city clerk to send out notices tomorrow to start the clock. Yes, there are problems in terms of completeness for what we have in terms of a paper package. It would be the developer's burden to make sure that package is complete by the time the TIF Commission evaluates it. it's a finding you all make that you're satisfied you want to send it on.
Okay, I just don't want anyone to be confused that this is a complete application, because my understanding is it is nowhere near a complete application.
Right.
Okay.
Alderman Rucker.
I just wanted to echo what Alderman Becker has said. I'm very disappointed in the packet that we have. I know that there is 45 days until the commission meets, but I've been through 3 or 4 TIF situations and on the TIF committee, and have never had a packet so incomplete. I do not want to have the TIF commission have to rule with something that is inadequate as this is. I would hope that the developer and their crew would be doing their diligence to do what is needed to complete this packet and put it all together. I know there has already been, we have had Gilmore and Bell that has went through the packet originally and found some things that needs to be done. So we kind of, I felt, was pretty quickly did that after we got it and had a number of things that were missing. But I have real concern with sending this on as incomplete as it is. That's all I have.
I'm going to put in my 2 cents worth. I think I can. I've been doing a lot of research on this program and reading a lot of the city bylaws, talking with some aldermen, talking with the city attorney, and I think we're all about growing this community in a positive way. And I have looked at some of the information, and I do know, based on the Osage Beach bylaws, that the Board of Aldermen can move this forward, even if it's not to the letter exactly the way it's gone to this point. I believe the developers want to do this. There are some programs in there for housing. There's some programs in there for bringing family activities down here. There's programs in there for entertainment, not bars and and lake things. But I think we should move forward on this as a board, as a city, and tell them now the burden's on them. Maybe it's not to the letter, but you as aldermen can move this forward. They have 45 days to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. So my suggestion is, as a board, you vote this says go through. Any other comments? Ms. Morose.
I would just like to reiterate, I'm all in favor of moving this forward to the TIF Commission. Definitely want to see this development to happen, but there are some items that still have not been received, and I'm sure that the TIF Commission will do their due diligence in making that happen. But I'm just very much in favor of this. I just would just like to have it done completely the way we've always had it, as far as the I's dotted and the T's crossed. But anyway, and I'm looking forward to having that happen. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I have one.
Yes, Alderman Ross.
Thank you. So this has been an unorthodox process compared to our past, and plus it's very complex, but the Outlet Mall property is very near and dear to all of us here. And while there's a lot of work to be done, and it may be, I don't want to call it a leap of faith, but we're going to trust and depend on these folks to get this done. So while it is a bit unorthodox, I think it at least gives them the opportunity to succeed, and we'll trust that they can. And so I support it at this point.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to
Adopt resolution.
resolution? Do I have what do I need, a first?
First and second.
Do I have a first to approve resolution 2022-01? Alderman Becker, do I have a second? Alderman Osteen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Very good. All right, next we're going to move on to Bill 22-21, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Concrete Solution for the East Osage Beach Parkway Sidewalk Improvement Project and 5481 Osage Beach Parkway Driveway Project for an amount not to exceed $397,999. This is the first reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. This project was bid out in late February. Bid opening took place on March 24th. we have basically combined 3 projects here in an effort to try and get a better price, to have one contractor do them all. Those 3 projects specifically are the Osage Beach Sidewalk Improvement Project, Highway D to Goldie Pearl, and for, just for clarification, that specific project is 100% funded by the Special Road District. Then we also included the OB Sidewalk Project, East Outlet Mall entrance to Lakeview Drive. That project is 2/3 funded by the Special Road District. And then we also added in the one business owner that wanted to fix their driveway over here on the west side at 5481 Osage Beach Parkway. The city did receive 4 bids for these projects. The low bid was Concrete Solution at $397,999. The bid tab is attached. The city's worked with Concrete Solutions several times in the past. Most recently, you may remember, they handled the Dude Ranch Sidewalk project for us a couple years back, and we got good results from that. I did check their references as well, just because it's been a few years since we've used them. Didn't find any problems, so I feel comfortable with this particular contractor. I've kind of laid out the budget versus what the low bidder has provided for each of these specific projects there. The project as a whole is under budget. The one driveway on the west side, if you remember, we did try to bid that out late last year in an effort to try and get it done. It came in pretty high. The bid for that one did still come in high, a little lower than what it was when we saw it a few months ago, but still a little high. But overall, altogether, all 3 projects are under budget as a whole. There was some engineering for this project that did not get completed prior to the end of the year. Therefore, there will be a $9,000 budget amendment that will follow this agenda item that Gina has set up here. The timetable for this project is 120 consecutive days. At this time, the contractor is kind of committed to start in mid-July. That's a little later than what we would have liked. We would have liked to have had them start in June, but because they were, because the price was so good, and I don't think the traffic mitigation is going to be any different in June than it would be in July, we are recommending approval for this project. And I do have Dave here, so if you have any questions for Dave or I about the project, we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments from the board? Yes, Alderman Rucker.
Just, do you know, are they planning on doing all 3 of them starting at the same time? Or are they going to do one and go to the other? I don't really care. I just wanted to know.
I can try and find
Okay.
out. So for you, I don't know.
I'm
the
good
answer
with
to that
either way.
one.
Was just kind of wondering. Just wondering.
I don't know the answer, but I'll see if I can find out
Okay,
for you.
I'd appreciate
Let the board know.
it. Thanks, Mike. That's all I have.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Osteen. I'll get it down.
I thought we as a board had agreed to not move forward with the ingress egress improvements on the bump out for the business down the street. I thought basically that had been put to rest and it was no longer part of our budgeting. It was no longer part of our discussions.
No, actually, the board decided the opposite. That was to move forward with the one project.
Bob, was opposed to us doing it, but, and I spoke very strongly opposed to doing it, but I brought back, and I don't know if it was the same meeting or it was the following meeting, the fact that even though I was opposed to it, that the board as a whole had supported it, and I'm still kind of opposed to it, but the majority of the board voted to do it. So I'm supporting the majority of the board. Now maybe I helped create some misunderstanding there in it, but because I was opposed to doing it, but yet I realized even though I was opposed that the majority of the board supported, the majority of the board put the money in the budget, and therefore I supported the majority of the board. I hope that didn't help create the confusion for you, but the majority of the board eventually did say they wanted to go ahead and forward.
I thought the board wanted to move forward with it, but once we got the estimated budget for it or cost for that, I thought we were in agreement that we were not going to move forward because that over doubled the amount we had budgeted for an individual business ingress egress.
When we got the first one, I even brought up the message that maybe we could include it with the other sidewalk projects to see if we could, and we did, I mean, but I don't recall
Okay.
that we discussed not doing it. I mean, that's just my recollection.
All right, I was actually at that meeting. Any other comments or questions from the board? I was going to say something too. I was actually at that meeting and spoke on behalf of Belladonna's, and I remember that it was voted to proceed, and I do know that you had expressed a concern with the price. The question I still have though, Mike, is the bump project, as a lot of people call it, going back to 12 people initially down to 1, and because we went into the whole problem with the drainage and making them reliable, that sort of thing. Not knowing a lot about concrete, but talking to some concrete people, $31,000 for that one parking lot just seems excessive. Are there not tools out there that can simply grind it down and seal over it and do all 12 for the price of 32 grand, rather than taking up 7-inch, $15,000 just concrete to remove and replace? Can't it just be ground down?
I'm going to turn that
Yeah.
over to Dave, let the engineer speak on that.
Yeah, I'm not aware of an effective way to do any grinding on that. The other consideration there is whatever we do, the finished product needs to remain ADA accessible. And if there's ideas or suggestions that need to be explored, I'm happy to look into them. We were not able to come up with any methods to do the repair other than full tear-out replacement.
Okay. If you can, that would be my recommendation is, I mean, this is the first reading, I understand, but again, if there's 12 people that really wanted it done, but they decided not to because then now they're responsible for drainage when they weren't before, they might have a different sense of opinion if you say, hey, we can grind that thing down. And I have talked to some concrete people. I said, aren't there machines out there they can do that? Again, I'm not in the concrete business, but my suggestion, let's check to see, we could do all 12 of them for 32 grand, I would think, not knowing a lot about it, but that would be my recommendation to at least look into that before the second reading.
Will do.
But they got to be maintained ADA. Isn't that going to be a concern that we got to?
Yeah, and to me also just the uncertainty of what the finished product is going to be. I almost feel like we're kind of going to go into that not knowing for sure what the finished product is going to look like. But again, I'm happy to look into it. If there's specific contractors you'd like me to talk to, I'd be happy to talk to them.
Thank you. Any other, no, Alderman Ross.
Along that lines, to be quite honest, I had hoped that we could find a different solution too. I called a couple of contractors. One was in Columbia, concrete cutting companies. Because it's such a small dimension and the way it lays, from what I gathered in my conversations, it was going to be extremely hard, if not almost impossible. It would take a very unique machine to do that. And I have mixed emotions too, because once you cut that, you are going to expose all the aggregate. It's not going to be sealed, and it won't last near as long. Now, will it last 5 years? I'm not sure. Maybe it lasts 10. It may not last more than 10, but that's still a good long while. But I just didn't see anyone that, now grinding it, that's a lot of grinding, and I don't know what kind of edge you can really put on it that would be reasonably acceptable from a quality standpoint. Sure, you can grind it, but I've seen grinding of concrete over time, and it's a lot. It's just not the same kind of finish effect that most people would expect from a quality job. But if, you know, at the end of the day, if somebody thinks they can grind it and it'll meet your standards, Dave, as our engineer, I'm all in. I did a little bit of work. I won't say I chased it far, but I talked to a couple of contractors and kind of come to the conclusion to defer to Dave, because I couldn't get anyone that seemed to think that, you know, cutting it at least, now I didn't go into grinding, right, but cutting it at least was really something that was feasible. So,
well, and if they can't, the bill's already written as is, but if you can find out and change it before second reading, if you can't, you can't. So that's my suggestion. Any other questions, comments from the board? Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross. Second reading, Alderman Rucker. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is Bill 22-22, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Stockman Construction for an amount not exceeding $1,215,303.96 for the Industrial Road Improvement Project. First reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. This project was bid out in early February. Bids the bid opening was on March the 10th. The city received 2 bids. The low bid was Stockman Construction. Bid tab is attached. I'm sure the board remembers we've done several projects recently with Stockman. The 2 most prominent ones are they just recently completed Mace Road Phase 2B. And then they were earlier this year, they were awarded the Autumn Lane project, which is going to be starting up here in a few weeks. So we have a lot of experience with Stockman, and we've been very happy with their work to date. This project consists of a base bid for the road construction and 2 alternates related to streetlights. Alternate number 1 would be used if we are going to have Stockman install the lighting and the conduit. Alternate number 2 would be used if we're going to have Ameren install the lighting and then the contractor install the conduit. We did get a quote from Ameren to install the lighting, which was $17,000 plus an additional, or I'm sorry, the $17,000 would be what we would pay Stockman for alternate number 2. The $25,000, or I got that backwards, I apologize. The $17,000 is what Ameren would charge us for the installation of the lights. The $25,344 would be what we would pay for Stockman to install the conduit. And then if we went that route, and I'm speaking of alternate 2 here, if we went that route, then we would pay $2,448.60 in perpetuity to Ameren for maintenance for those poles. So when Dave Van Leer and the rest of the Cochran team and I sat down and started to talk about this, we felt like with what Kevin is doing on the Parkway, with taking over the maintenance of all the lighting that we have along the Parkway, we felt like it made more sense for us to go ahead and pay a little bit more upfront, do alternate number 1, have Stockman install all the lighting, and then we would maintain those poles ourselves. And then we would not have to pay that $2,000 plus per year to Ameren every year for maintenance on these poles. There are 7 poles that we're talking about here on Industrial Drive. And so we are going to recommend that we go with the base bid plus alternate number 1 for the amount of $1,215,303.96. This project is considerably over budget. In my discussions with Dave and his staff, we do not believe that rebidding this project would result in any bids that would be any lower than what you see here. So we are recommending that we move forward with this project. And I do have Dave here for any questions, whether it be on the lighting or the construction of the road itself. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I know we're going to be running into this challenging situation for some time with the bidding because of putting the numbers together last year, and we've seen a lot of things that are causing numbers to go up. And I understand that, but I guess, Dave, where my question comes into is I went through and highlighted, and I hope your estimator will do the same so they can learn from this bid. But there's one that stood out specific to me, and I was just wondering if it would be appropriate for you to have conversations with Stockman after at least the first reading, if we proceed, and that's the earthwork. You know, it's $90,000 difference. You guys, we have an estimate of $25,000 for earthwork, and they're bidding it at $90,000 or $116,000. Now, when you kind of combine the removal and the rock and the earthwork all together, we're still about $80,000 different. Are they reading something into the spec that doing something that we didn't plan on them doing, or did we, the estimator, mess up and miss something that he should have or she should have? I mean, that's $90,000. That's a chunk of change to be off, and I'm just wondering if there's something that somebody missed there.
Yeah, we can certainly, that certainly warrants follow-up with Stockman there. The other thing I would say there is if you look at the other bidder, You know, his bid is still well above the estimate, but on the order of half what
Right.
the bid from Stockman was. That's something we frequently see is different contractors bid projects in different ways and assign costs to different components of the work differently.
And,
But we
and I
certainly-
understand that, you know, that happens, and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but this one just seems so large that, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, you know, and I realize they can put their profits in different areas. And that's understandable, because we just look at the bottom line. We're not buying this line item by line item, but that's just, like I said, I went through each line item and kind of looked at each one, but that one was just so big, I was just like, wow, did somebody miss something or misunderstand something, or are we both on the same page?
Let me follow up on that
I
and
just
see if
think
I can
it'd
get
be
you an
nice for
answer.
clarity. That was all I had.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Schuman.
Yes, I just wanted to say, I'm very appreciative that you guys took the time to run out those two scenarios of the lighting, whether Ameren does it or we do it, because I know we did just recently approve to have us start maintaining all of our lighting, so it was a really good thought ahead to be having this and not have one section that Ameren is now holding again. So I do agree that it's probably worth it to go ahead and spend a little bit extra so that we don't get back into a situation where they're maintaining part and we're maintaining the rest, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Bill 22-23, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 125 Human Resource System Personnel, Rules and Regulations, and the policies associated with Chapter 125, Section 125.050.G.3, tuition reimbursement, first reading. Cindy Lay, Human Resource Generalist.
Yes, Mayor and members of the board. In December, at the December 16th Board of Aldermen meeting, this policy was brought forward to update it to add the Law Enforcement Academy tuition reimbursement. At that time, during the discussion, staff was asked to bring this policy back to have a further discussion regarding the length of the employment obligation that was part of the policy. Staff has reviewed several different policies in the private and the public industries, and therefore the policy before you has reduced, is recommending the reduction of the length of employment obligation for the tuition reimbursement. College tuition, the recommendation is to take the 3-hour college class and the obligation down from 9 months to 3 months of employment obligation. The Law Enforcement Academy tuition reimbursement, we are requesting that the employment obligation be reduced from 5 years to 3 years. Also, the recommendation includes the, if it's recommended and it's approved as recommended, asking for the reduction to the employees that are currently under employment obligation, that we change their obligation to reflect this policy. So, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Ross.
So on page 194, I'm under policies and procedures. I think I'm on the right copy, by the way. Okay, I might not be.
194?
Yep. 2, D as in David.
He's on the new.
Am I in the right place, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay. Get everybody there. When everybody's there, then I'll make my comments. That's okay. So reducing it from 6 months to 1 month is help per credit hour, okay? And when you think about it, 1 month for credit hour doesn't sound like a lot. But if you think through someone that might come to work for us, whatever, and they want to pursue, for example, an associate's degree, which is 60 hours, close on average for associate's degree to complete, they would owe, there would be a 5-year commitment after they completed their associate's degree. Which in my mind, well, I'll just say it this way. If we have an employee that works for us for, I'm going to guess, around 5 years to complete this, assuming about 6 hours of credit each semester, they're working full-time, I'll use that assessment or that estimate, probably take them 5 years to complete it. And if they have that kind of commitment and discipline and knowledge and intelligence, and got done with that and thought that they still had a 5-year commitment, that just seems like a detriment to me. It almost feels like a term. And so with that, I would suggest that we consider moving that from for each 1 month for each 3 hours of tuition reimbursed, 3 credit hours. And I'm not ready to make a motion. I'd like to have the discussion. And so
Yeah,
that,
Alderman Rucker?
okay. I had a similar program as this in my prior life when I was working. Okay, now, the way I read this and the way I understood this, maybe I understood it wrong, because here's the way I understand this, Richard, and the way I did it, my organization. You go to school from September to December, okay? You take, we'll make it simple. You take 1 credit hour, just let's make it easy, 1 credit hour. You take 1 credit hour class, okay? You pass it. You get paid for it, okay? You have an obligation to work for the city 1 month. That obligation is done the 1st of February. See, now,
that hasn't been the,
okay,
Alderman Ross?
so the conversation I had with Cindy, and I'm not sure how it's perceived, because that's what I wondered also, okay?
that's the way
But
I
my-
perceive this.
The way, when I asked Cindy, and I'm not sure how it's going to be implemented and how it's going to be interpreted, for lack of a better term, but if they're utilizing those 1 months throughout that, then sure, okay? That is a different way to look at it. My understanding is that once they completed all those courses, that they would still owe.
Cindy, can you clarify?
Yes, I will. And I apologize if you had a misunderstanding. So the obligation starts the minute after, right after the first class is completed. So Alderman Rucker is correct. So you can still go to school and everything and be working on the obligation of your prior courses.
Okay, so if I go in enter in another course, which is okay, I'd rather it be that way. One thing I don't want is for someone to think that this is a sentence, if you will, okay, after they work so hard, okay? And if that's the way we're going to look at it, that, for example, it's 3 months, so they completed a class. Let me make sure I got this math
Basically,
right.
Richard, what should happen is when they complete the 2nd semester, they've already paid the city back in time for the 1st semester that they got paid for.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So if they spent 5 years going to school, then they would only owe 6 more months?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Alderman Ross? Excuse me, Alderman Osteen. Did you have a question?
If they're able to utilize the months of service right after they've completed that credit work, then
Correct.
basically once they have completed that degree or whatever coursework, they only have a 1 month obligation?
According to this, it would be for 3 months, the way that I have made the recommendation right now.
Depending on how many credit hours that last semester was.
Okay.
So it's based, yeah, so if they're just doing 1 class at a time, so it'd be 3 classes. Some classes are 4 hours, so it'd be 4 months for that class. But if they're trying to take 12 hours at that time, then they would have an obligation for 12 months, the way that I have written this here.
For 12 months.
Yeah, because it'd be
When
12
that
credit hours that
semester-
they just took.
When those 4 classes ended, the 3-hour classes, it'd be 12 hours, then they would have 12 months more obligation.
Yes, sir.
I do have another suggestion that the city administrator and I were kind of like talking. We could also add a not to exceeds on here as well. It's just another option that we would have to not to exceed an obligation of another 24 months or 12 months.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Our proposal or amendments? Alderman
I
Ross?
guess I would just say this, one of the reasons I brought this up is because in my previous life, we just, there was no term of employment that was committed to with any risk of repayment, okay? And so Cindy and I talked a lot about this, and she felt like there should be some more ownership, and that's okay. If the not to exceed, I like that idea, and I would, I don't know what everybody else thinks, if that would make it more clear, but it would make it more clear to me, I think, and make sure that, and so I'm not sure what everybody agrees with, but if we're going to, what would you suggest as far as how that would be stated as a not to exceed 6 months?
I would, well, no, because if they finish, say they're taking 4 12-hour or 4 3-hour classes,
Okay.
they would have an obligation, the way that we've recommended here, for 12 months.
Okay.
So I would say let's have a not exceed for 12 months.
Okay.
That'd be offered an amendment then, wouldn't it, to the motion?
It would be, but it's going to need to be wordsmithed because
Yeah,
I'm not
'cause
sure I can write that off the top of my head right now.
Prefer to redo the first reading next time with some clarity.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not under the gun where we have to do something
No.
right now.
No.
So I would assume we're not going to vote on this, and I mean, we can vote now, but you're going to vote it down, and then you can bring it back for another first reading, correct?
Yes, I can
Okay.
do that.
Can I make a suggestion, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
This would be an appropriate time if the board wanted to, by unanimous consent, just ask that this item be placed for first reading on the next agenda to give Cindy an opportunity to rewrite part of it and create the not to exceed language.
Okay. Did you hear that? Rather than me trying to remember how to say that,
Absolutely.
are we okay with that? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Not opposed, but I have one more comment. So,
Yes, sir.
to just clarify this, so if we're going to cap them on their commitment to us after they've received that degree or whatever for 12 months, basically, we're also going to, that means we're capping the amount of credit hours they can take per semester, correct?
No.
So if we're only capping you at 12 months at completion of the coursework, then basically that means in that semester you can only take 12 credit hours.
No, I mean, if they want to be brave and work full-time and take more than 12 hours or 12 credit hours, then it would just be a bonus to them is how I look at it, because technically they would owe 15 months and we're limiting it to 12 months.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Is unanimous that it's going to rewrite for first reading at next meeting, correct?
Correct.
All right.
We'll see how we can crucify it next
All right, thank you. All right, move on. House Bill number 22-24, an ordinance, the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 125, Human Resource System Personnel, Rules and Regulations, and the policies associated with Chapter 125, Section 125.050-G-4, Education Incentive, first reading. Again, Cindy Lay.
Yes, Mayor and members of the board, this policy, we've had this policy since, I believe, 2002. In 2009, the incentives were reduced at that time. At this time, the staff is asking for the incentives to be increased due for a lot of things, but also it goes back to incentivizing employees to further their education and knowledge for tasks and skills and abilities associated with their different positions. I will bring you to specifics on page 218. It's the associate's degree and the bachelor's degree and the master's degree. So if employees receive those or have those when they come to work for us and their jobs do not require them at that time, then they, after their 6-month probation period, then they would be given this incentive paid on a prorated basis biweekly. I'm recommending that we take the rest of the individual certifications that have been there and lie them under specialized training. Specialized training is by department and would be up to the city administrator and the department manager for the specific departments to decide what would fall under there, but the water license, registered flagger, backflow prevention would all also be under specialized training. This would just kind of clean up this policy, as well provide a little more incentives for the registered flagger and backflow prevention. These are certifications that employees go to do above and beyond their job. They also provide a lot of additional information and increase their efficiency to do their job. So staff is recommending just a few to increase the dollars by 50%, and then a few of the others to increase a little bit more than that, and then put all of them under specialized training to where the department managers and the city administrator can identify the specific ones for their field. In addition, there's an not to exceeds for each employee. I'm asking for that incentive to be increased from $1,500 to $3,000 per employee per year without prior approval by the city administrator.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Olstein.
Cindy, Section G on the $3,000 per annual maximum incentive, how did you derive that number? Because if you look at the per line item incentives, they would have to, in 1 year, get their master's, their bachelor's, and their associate's degree equal $3,000.
Okay, so basically that would fall under our specialized training certifications. We have a lot of specialized trainings and certifications that are available in the police department, law enforcement, in our ambulance, in our building and inspections, public works. So this would limit the numbers that they would get incentive for. So they have a variety. We have some individuals that have 3 or 4. A lot of times with ambulance, we incentivize them to be instructors. So we do pay them to do CPR training and everything for our employees. So for them to be instructors, we pay them. So this limits how many they can get throughout the year.
Okay, well, just, that number seemed a little excessive to me, but.
Yes, so they could have a master's or a bachelor's, and then they could have a couple of the certifications as well.
All in the same year?
Yes.
Okay.
Not that, I think we might only have one individual, and since I've been here for 20 years, I think we've only had 2 that have ever reached the cap of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Alderman Rucker.
Cindy, I've in the past have made the boo-boos when I've done a pretty major revision on something and later found out that I screwed it up. So I'm asking this, did you run all the scenarios to make sure nobody would get less money? Because you're redoing a lot of stuff here. Did you make sure that nobody who has, who's getting something will be reduced with this new ordinance?
Yeah, I've already went through and revised everything that everybody is receiving currently right now, and that's where I came up with the numbers for the budget. Nobody is being reduced. There's no reduction for any employees that are currently receiving incentives.
Okay.
However, there are several employees that will be receiving incentives because maybe prior management or something didn't get them filled out. So I know that there's several employees that need to have their incentives that I've discovered, and I've talked to those department managers, and so that's increased it. The total cost, if we do implement this June 1st, would be $17,000 more than what I've budgeted in the current budget.
Be how much more?
17,000?
The other comment I have, I support this. I think it's a real good program. I would like to make an amendment that it goes into effect January 1st, 2023 at that budget process, not this year. I think we shouldn't be putting it into the budget at this point. And let the employees know that this is a program, but I think that we should put it into effect with the budget of 2023.
Any other comments or questions?
Is that a motion? If I can have?
Rather than waste a motion, I just want to put it out for discussion. That's my thoughts. I can do that if, but.
Alderman Becker?
I have a question for Cindy. When you first started explaining, what did you say about the associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree? If they had them previous to employment with the city, they would be paid that, or did I
Yes. So if we hire a new hire and they have a bachelor's degree or an associate's or a master's, and their job does not require that, after they've completed their 6-month probation period, then they would receive this incentive.
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Alderman Ross.
I got a couple. That just raises a question. I'm not sure I followed that. So if you can explain, if they come to us and they don't have a bachelor's, is that what you said?
If they do,
If they do, and their job doesn't require them to have a bachelor's?
yes.
Okay, so they're going to work 6 months and get a $500 increase because they have that.
So it's prorated biweekly, so I believe it's
$1,000.
like $19.24 a pay period that they
Correct.
would receive. But yes, so after their 6-month period, 6-month probation period, they would fill out a form, we'd verify it, and then they would receive incentive for their college education.
Now I have a comment, if I can follow up there. I'll just say that I appreciate Cindy bringing this forward. I think that these things, although there's a lot of little details you get and scenarios you get into, I think what we're trying to demonstrate here is that our people are our most valuable asset, and that this is in line with one of our objectives, which is have the best of the best from an employee standpoint. So there may become some scenario we may not have even thought of, but at this point, I support this at that.
Alderman Rucker, are you going to make an amendment, or are we going to?
Can I ask, I was going to ask this, I apologize, I didn't think. How much difference would it make monetarily, do you think? Do you have any idea? between now, if we start it now versus,
Says she already put in her 17,000.
oh, that's right, the 17,000, that's right.
Yeah.
In my mind, that would help, but so far, we're tracking above sales tax revenue and things like that, and it's a small investment to the employees in my mind.
City Attorney had a comment?
Just for clarity, I want to be clear, so Tara's notes are clear. Is Alderman Rucker, sir, are you making a motion?
No,
to-
I put it out for discussion.
Okay, all right.
Alderman
I
Schuman, you had-
just wanted to have some discussion with
Yeah,
what others
Alderman
said.
Schuman had a comment?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for Cindy. These incentives, are these paid every year, or is this a one-time? Sorry, I didn't understand that part.
So
like-
for their degrees, bachelor's,
Huh?
associates, it's an ongoing, continued. For their certifications, the majority of certifications have an expiration date, so they would have to renew them at that expiration date. If they do not have an expiration date, I review them after 3 years. And I have to ensure that the employee is willing to do whatever they're doing, like if they're an instructor, they have to be willing to do that, and they continue their education for that. So they do, and the certifications do have an expiration date on them.
Okay, so it's basically an annual, they get this incentive annually as long as they have, well, obviously if they have their degree, but then
Correct.
as they keep their certifications
Yeah.
up. Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't just like a one-time.
Yeah, so I
one-off.
keep track of the expiration dates and everything, and then they're supposed to give me their new certification cards when they receive them, to have the incentive continue.
Okay, that made a little more sense with the 3,000 too, because I was like, if they get their bachelor's once, but okay.
All right, before I ask Alderman Rucker if he's going to amend, is there any comments or questions? All right, would you like to amend?
I
or
would
you
like
want-
to make a motion that the effective date of this change be January 1, 2023.
Is there a sec,
Amendment to section 3 of the ordinance.
Yes.
is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second.
Second, Alderman Morose. Almost called you Phyllis, sorry. I have a first and second. All those in favor of the amendment? Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
No.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
No.
Alderman Becker?
No.
Alderman Schuman?
No,
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Motion failed.
Okay then.
Motion fails. We go back to the original bill, don't we?
Correct.
All right, we're going to go back, and now we're going to, on the bill in front of us, Bill 22-24, is there a motion to approve the bill? Do I have a first? Let's proceed. Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Alderman Rucker, excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. Alderman Becker, I'll get this down. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Wasn't all bad, was it?
We're getting there.
We didn't want to make it easy.
All right, moving on, Bill 22-27, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute ECC quote number 220406 FVC02R1 from Electrical Control Company ECC for services and equipment for the replacement of the supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA system at a not to exceed a cost of $142,277, first and second reading. Public Works Operation Manager Kevin Crooks.
Thank you, Mayor and the board. The SCADA, or Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System that monitors for alarms and makes automated control decisions for the city's water production, distribution, and sewer collection system, was first installed in 1997. It consists of computer controllers at various sites pushing data through microwave licensed radios back to Public Works, and then displays this information into a graphic format that can then be disseminated, controlled, and acted upon by Public Works staff. There have been numerous technical issues with the agent system over the years, and it was identified as needing a full replacement upgrade in 2023. A separate but partner software program to this system that manages just the alarm dialing of Public Works staff had recently failed after several unsuccessful attempts to patch it. The replacement of that software and its integration layer was approved by the board back on February 3rd of 2022 for the cost of $13,762. While preparing for the install of this new alarm dialer software, the main SCADA platform, this would be the parent parent to the child for these terms. The SCADA platform itself failed March 14th, 2020, meaning that we are now in a position where we can no longer control or monitor any alarms system-wide. Because this is an event, we have instituted a daily check of critical wells and lift stations, and this is currently our only means to know if a lift station is at high level or if a well has failed, along with hundreds of other critical and monitored data points. These in-person checks are performed 7 days a week, but of course they only provide a picture of the conditions at that moment in time. This obviously opens up the city to various unwanted liabilities. In an expedited fashion, a project scope was defined over the 3 weeks with SCADA provider ECC, or Electrical Controls Company from Earth City, Missouri, and myself. This process would normally take place over several months over the summer, and then to be put through the normal bidding and purchasing processes. There are some elements of this scope which have some upgraded functionality, but it was abbreviated for the sake of time. We now have a quote with a scope I believe serves the city's immediate needs for an estimated not to exceed price of $142,377. I recommend approval of this project to return the water sewer system back to a controlled and monitored status as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Ross.
So I have, what would be the life expectancy of this system, Kevin?
Richard, I'm sorry.
What would be the life expectancy of this system?
Typically, they'll go 10 years, and then you can do an upgrade. You can do a patch. This isn't necessarily old because it's like you're buying like you're buying a toaster. You can have upgrades. You can update the server. You can add functionality to it.
Okay. That's best estimate. That's okay.
Yeah, Michael Bean could basically explain this, but it's existing on a server that cannot be upgraded. We've went back and forth and exhausted all options on that too. We looked at the option of patching this. That can't be done because the patch won't exist on the age of the server that it's on. So what we're doing is basically taking it off a server and making it PC-based, which makes it more modular and more adaptable, and I think better for us in the long run. But 10 to 12 years is about average.
Okay, so then I would assume that this is a separate asset that will be listed in our capital asset planning?
It actually was. It was scheduled to be upgraded, start the major upgrades
I tried
next
to
year.
go through it real fast and I didn't see it, but maybe
Yeah.
it's there. Okay. And for 10 years. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Alderman Osteen.
My question is actually for Gina, just to clarify this, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, but the improvements to this system, that goes against the general public works budget for 2022, correct? Because when I'm reading this, it looks like it's above and beyond, not included or counted against that actual budget, but coming out of the reserves.
This is not a budgeted item. Sewer and/or water, neither one, have unrestricted funds available for this. However, our reserve accounts that are set up for certain repair and replacement of system will, it meets the definition for that. So there's a reason I did not have a budget amendment shored up right now, because I really need to do some research, because I need to do some research on the money. But the short answer is neither fund has unrestricted dollars available for this. This is an urgency. It did not meet necessarily the emergency clause under state statute that I know the department wanted it to meet. They do need to move forward. At next meeting, like stated, I will have more details on the funds. I have no doubt we do have funds without pulling out of something else that's budgeted, because our reserve accounts, again, it does meet the definition for this, but I really need to reconcile some dollars, because the sewer reserve account, I will tell you, is getting uncomfortably low for my standards. I know that's not my budget, and this will just further that. So I do need to do some research, but me being able to do some research doesn't negate the fact that the department needs to move forward. It is an urgency.
Okay, I'm all for it. I was just curious about on the accounting side,
Yeah.
how this is going to appear.
All right, any other questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, and second, Alderman Schuman. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, second reading. Bill 22-27, ordinance to the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute ECC quote number 220406 FVC02R1 from Electrical Control Company ECC for services and equipment for the replacement of the supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA system at not to exceed a cost of $142,277. Roll call, please.
First motion.
I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Osteen, sorry, he already got you. All right, now, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Becker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Two more, folks. All right, next one. This is a motion to modify the original purchase price for the purchase of a 2023 Ford F-450 193-inch WD 4x4 7.3L V8 gas engine with liquid spring suspension system and a 2022 Osage 168-inch Warrior Conversion Type 1 Osage ambulance from Emergency Service Supply at a price not to exceed $240,000. Chief Davis.
Mayor, members of the board, back in January, you approved the purchase of the new ambulance at a cost of $236,000, or not to exceed, excuse me, $236,000. During the pre-construction meeting, additional items were added, as well as some deleted, and the new cost of the ambulance is $239,363. We request approval to not to exceed $240,000, which was still within budget. Police Department recommends approval.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? Do I have a motion to modify the agreement, purchase price? Alderman Becker, someone second? Alderman Schuman, motion passes. If you allow me,
No.
I'm sorry?
You have to ask them if they approve.
I'm so
You got a first and a second.
I'm sorry. All right, I was just looking at, there's one more on the agenda. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. I will tell you, Chief Davis, when my mom was reading this, she was reading through this, and she looked at that, and she said, oh, is this your vehicle? True story. I said, no, that's not the vehicle they're giving me. All right, the last item of business, is discussion of Chapter 125, Human Resource Personnel Rules and Regulations, Chapter 125, Section 125.120, E9B Holidays. Cindy Lay, Human Resource Generalist.
Hello, Mayor and members of the board. Okay, we're back to our holiday discussion. So at the December Board of Aldermen meeting, we made some changes to the holiday. And I was asked at that time to bring it back in 2022 for further discussion. I have provided a lengthy summary of the history of the policy for holidays and where we are currently. I'm not going to read that. I am just going to go to my summary and try to explain how our holiday is a benefit. A lot of public entities, ambulance districts, fire districts, pay for holidays as well, but they pay for holidays if you work that holiday. Ours is a holiday benefit for all full-time employees. So we try to make it as equitable and fair as we can, but you get the holiday benefit whether you work the holiday or not. So that is the intent of the holiday benefit. The employees that do work, administration, of course, the City Hall and Public Works buildings are closed, and so we have that day off with pay. The airports, law enforcement, 911, and our ambulance districts, they have to have staffing here 24/7. So the individuals that are working get their regular pay when they're working. But in addition to that, they get hours put into a leave bank so they can use them later, or they are paid out in a separate check in December of every year. And the employees that have that day off, they've already worked their week, and work their 42 hours or their 40 hours that week, they get the benefit as well, and it's put into a leave bank as well, and they have the option to take that off during the year, or they can also get those hours paid out at the end of the year at a separate check. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask if you have questions on the information that I've provided.
Any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I was opposed to this back in December. I am now not opposed to it because of a misunderstanding that I had, and didn't really get it clarified until just yesterday. Was still all along digging my heels in. I was opposed to this until I realized after with Cindy that we have to understand, and I should have understood this because of my previous career, there's a difference between a holiday benefit and a holiday pay. Mm-hmm. And I was treating this as a holiday pay. So I apologize if I created the uproar, but this is a holiday benefit, and there is a difference, and I support this. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments? Is this something we need to vote on? No. How do we end this one?
Thank everyone for their...
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for your comment. All right.
Easiest one yet.
What's that?
Easiest one yet.
I know, I like this. We'll have more of those. All right, last thing, we have communications from members of the board. Alderman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to thank John Oliver, for the ex-mayor, for all of his contributions over the years. We had sometimes had our moments, but I enjoyed serving with him, and I respect everything that he's done. Also want to welcome Michael. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can build on some of the accomplishments that have occurred before us and take this thing forward.
Thank you.
I want to also recognize the street department. I ran across the situation down on Jayhawk Drive a couple months ago at most, where it looked like quite a bit of degradation on the street. And I talked with, I think, Stevie and Rob, and it wasn't hardly any time that it was fixed. It was fixed very well, and it would have been a pretty easy place to drive off and drop a complete wheel off and probably damage a car. So please thank them for jumping on that and doing such a great job. Appreciate that, Kevin. And then the only other thing is I hope that Kevin and Todd, during your comments, can address current staffing. And I'll let you guys do that as you come through. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rose.
Well, obviously, I'd just like to congratulate you
Thank you.
and wish that everything will continue to be as well with all of us, and I'm sure it will. We work well together, and we have for years, so I don't expect any difference.
Thank you.
And our staff that has been working diligently, and the figures that Cindy has been working on, and I mean, unbelievable. Really appreciate everything that everybody does. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Osteen.
Ditto to everything they've just said. They stole my thunder, so.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Nothing else?
No.
You can't think of anything else nice?
Oh, I've got lots to say, but
Thank you.
further time.
All right, Alderman Becker.
Welcome, Mayor Michael.
Thank
Look forward
you.
to working with you. And thanks to Gina and maybe your staff for putting together that Osage Beach Outlet Mall TIF analysis comparison. Not sure what to call it, but it was extremely helpful.
You're
Thank you.
welcome, and Ed was a big part of that.
It's a nice job.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Alderman Schuman.
I just wanted to congratulate you and welcome you to our board with us and your win. And also to thank the city employees that worked the Easter egg hunt. My family got to attend that. It was a very well-attended event. There was a lot of people because it was a very nice day. It ran really smoothly. I saw a lot of people happy, so I was really excited for us to be able to get back to doing that because we hadn't done that for a couple years. So thank you to everybody for their work on that because I know that was a lot of work. 35,000 eggs is a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Alderman Rucker.
Yes, congratulations to me and the other aldermen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the mayor for being elected. And wanted to say about the Easter egg hunt, my grandson, and both of them, the one was kind of a little bit like, he's 1 year old. He's like, I don't know if I want to pick this stuff up off of here, so he was a little bit reluctant, but as Kelly said, 35,000 eggs is a lot of eggs, and it was very well attended. I heard a lot of positive, a lot of good comments, and it was very nicely done, and I applaud all the staff, because I know it was more than just the parks. There was a lot of staff members down there doing a lot of volunteer helping. Second thing is, it's a little, I'll shorten the story as much as I can, but back in 2000 and I believe it was 17 is when this occurred. We had our water tower painted on Bluff Drive. And at the conclusion of it, at literally the last day of it, and I literally drove by it just right after it happened, one of the painters spilled a can of paint. And down the side it went onto the concrete. The shorter version of this thing is that we changed some personnel. We went through COVID. They changed some personnel. It almost got lost between the cracks. And of course, I seen it every day when I drive by it. So I, of course, went to Gina and said, Gina, we got this issue. And she's like, okay. And so I spilled my beans to her, and she gets Ed involved with it, and then Ed finally decides, well, you know what, maybe us attorneys don't need to be involved. Maybe let's just let Gina carry the ball, and Gina carries the ball, and we have some challenging stuff going on, and then she turns it over to Kevin at the tail end. The bottom line is yesterday they completed it. It looks a whole lot better. And I'm not being negative, the only negative is if you have spots all over your carpet, you know, and you clean the spots, you've got brighter spots, but it's a lot better than these dark spots that we had all up inside and down. So I thank Ed and Kevin and Gina for keeping this thing going and keep the button going, and it definitely cleaned back up and looks good. And so that's a project that I can take off my.
Thank you. I like it when Kevin gets listed.
Take it off the list. Yeah. So thank you for the staff and their work on that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. City Administrator Gina Woods.
Well, now that Kevin, welcome, and the returning alderman, and congrats to Mayor Harmison. I know he's probably spent more time than he's wanted to with me lately, but he's not going to get rid of us that easily. So welcome, and I know that you'll get the hang of all this.
Thanks.
They all do.
Thank you, thank you.
I don't have anything further.
All right. City Attorney Ed Rucker.
Congratulations, the re-elected alderman. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. It gets easier, and, you know, it becomes second nature faster than you could possibly imagine.
All right, thank you. All right, City Clerk Tara Bareth. I asked her 3 times how to say that yesterday. And it's Tara, too. Tara.
Not starting off so hot there, I don't have anything, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you. All right, Chief Davis.
Welcome. Congratulations to everybody that got reelected. As an update on the police department, we have Officer Nathan Verplug that graduates academy tomorrow at 9 a.m. and then he gets sworn in on Monday at 9 a.m. and that'll be his first day on the road with us. We have 1 additional job offer that will go out tomorrow. We have 1 officer in background, and both of those 2 officers, the one with the job offer, he graduates the academy May 27th, and then the other one graduates July 2nd. Then we have another one scheduled for interview and testing next week. Officer Edgar and his fiance had a baby boy today. I don't have a name yet, but everybody's doing fine, so we welcome a new member to the family, I guess. Dispatch, we have 1 offer letter that's going out. We have testing and working on testing and scheduled, so we're still short in there. We've got 11. We're slated to have 11 at full staff. We've got 4 full-time and 2 part-time right now. So the 4 that we have are working their tails off and doing a great job for us. But we need to get them some help in there, and we're just not having any luck. Our records clerk and evidence custodian, today was her last day. She's kind of doing a change of careers, and so we lost her, so that job is posted, along with our analyst. So we're working on filling the spots, but with the two that we have, or the one job offer going out tomorrow in the background, that leaves us one short on the road now. So that's the best we've been in quite a while.
Good. Good. Thank you. City Planner, Carrie Patterson.
Yeah, congrats everyone. Really gonna miss Jenna. Jenna's been here for a long time. She was so sweet and such a big part of the team, and definitely gonna miss her face. But that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you. City Treasurer, Carrie Bell.
Yes, welcome. Ditto to everything that everybody said. Congratulations. And look forward to the next phase.
All right, thank you. Assistant City Administrator, Mike Welty.
Yeah, I do have a couple of quick things. I just want to build on what a couple of our aldermen spoke about. So we did have a very successful Easter egg hunt this last Saturday. Nicole estimates that we had about 735 kids participate in the egg hunts, which is a little down from what we saw pre-COVID, but I guess that's to be expected. We feel like we had a pretty good turnout. The church gave away just over 1,500 total hot dogs for the day. So all in all, we were very pleased with the way it went. And I just have to thank Victory Church. They are our partner with this event. And even though they've went through a couple of different name changes, they've been our partner with it since we began it back in 2016. So we really appreciate their help. We could not do it without it. But I do appreciate the comments, and we're going to do it every year. We're going to keep doing it. It's a great event. Last thing I'll say is that, as you know, Nicole is going to be leaving us soon, and we will have an update on her replacement soon. Hopefully be able to finalize all of that stuff before the next board meeting, and I'll be able to share with you guys who her replacement is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, building official, Ron White.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Cochran Engineering, Mr. Van Leer.
Yes,
I have
thank you.
Mr. Van Leer. I didn't get your first name.
David.
David, thank you, sorry.
Congratulations on the elections, everyone.
Thank you.
Last month, we were asked about the status of the Antioch Utilities project that was getting water and sewer to the Antioch properties. Now, there's currently 4 properties in city limits that do not have city water and sewer. Our plan will be to bring a preliminary design to the board in May, along with an updated cost estimate. And with board approval, we should be able to move into final design and be ready to bid whenever we feel timing's appropriate for bidding. Certainly, the plan would be to get that construction done this year still. So, update there.
All right, thank you. I gave most of my comments prior to starting, but I do look forward to working with everyone. And Kim and I went to that Easter egg hunt, and it was a blast. And I was blown away by how many kids. And then you said 2,500 hot dogs, and it just 1,500. Wow! But that was tons of kids had a great time, and able to go out on the field and see all the kids, and got out of the way before they let them go. But nice job to you and the staff. You guys did an awesome job. And the only other thing I was going to say is I'm really excited about that Elks monument out here. As an elk, as a veteran, when you were telling that story, I'm thinking, how beautiful would that be out here? So I hope that progresses soon. Whatever I could do to help support it, let me know, because that would be just super for our city, I believe. So, all right, with that being said. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Kevin and Cindy.
Staff members.
Who did I miss?
Hi,
I am so sorry.
Kevin and Ty.
Kevin and Ty, my apologies.
And Cindy.
Welcome, Mayor and returning board members. Nothing for the board, sir.
Okay, sorry. And I already gave my speaking, so.
Kevin, if you don't mind, I had asked, how are we staffed in sewer? Are we fully staffed?
Almost fully staffed. We have, because of an inside promotion, we are down 2, and we have, I just want to say a little bit about that, Alderman Ross, is that we are becoming exactly what I want it to be. I want it to be a regional draw for employers in the sewer department. We are become just that. We're pulling all the best talent of all the other cities. Too bad for everybody else. That's the way it is. So we have a number of qualified applicants, And I feel we'll be at full staff once we sort through the applicants that we have in just a week or two.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My apologies again. Ty?
Nothing to add, just congratulations, everybody, on your election.
Thank you. All right. Did I get everybody?
Cindy?
The only thing I do want to add is that we do have a transportation employee that's been with the city for 27 years, and he is retiring effective next Friday, April 29th. He has had a long career with the city, and he's going to enjoy some time. And we will miss Jenna and Nicole as well.
All right. Thank you. Now I'm good? All right. All right. Notice is given that the agenda includes a roll call vote to close the meeting as allowed by RS Mo Section 610.21, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting or particular employees by a public government body when personnel information about the employee is discussed or recorded. Do I have a motion?
Motion to go in closed session.
Do I have a second? Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Alderman Rose, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes?
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Okay. Closed, right?
Now, what we do is
Go to the next room.
adjourn to a different room.